Well. What's up, everybody? Just had a really fun and great review session with some pro feedback members. We actually switched this month's review to a Tuesday morning because Sync Up is 2 weeks away, and I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I am not ready for this at all. I mean, I am, but I just remember, last year was our first in-person event. And I was ready for everything by like March 1st. I had everything set. I had the bags and the swag bags ready. I had everything booked. I was so paranoid that it was like, it's going to come faster than I think. And I was just so freaking out. And now, because we've done it before, I'm a little bit more at ease. I know that's going to be fine. We kind of got through it last time and, no major hiccups, no big problems. So I'm much more relaxed this time. And now, as we're 2 weeks away, I'm like, okay, I got to get my tech together. I got to make sure I have the whole setup. I need to start communicating with all of our guest speakers, all of you guys that are going to be attending either virtually or in person. So I'm like, I've got a lot on my plate right now. But in spite of all of that, I can't help but get really interested in all of this AI stuff, and not even just about the technology and, all the stuff we've talked about. But, I want to talk a little bit more about this really interesting little rabbit hole that I've uncovered that I didn't know was actually a stance for some of you guys. And some of you, maybe, hopefully, I can get a couple of you guys to watch this live with me and stream with me and give me some feedback in the chat. Of course, respectfully, I do appreciate that, all of you guys, even if you disagree, I want you here. But I had this poll out on my channel where I said, in fact, maybe I can just try to show it before I start talking about it, because that would probably be more interesting for you guys, huh? Let me see if I can get it real quick. I put it out just like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago. And I had said, let's see, is this the one? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to try to show this to you guys if I can, if this works. Just get myself out of the way. There we go. Okay. There I am. All right. So this was essentially a poll that, as you can read, hopefully, try to get this out of here. Yeah, whatever. It's going to look really messy, but you guys get the idea. So for those of you that support AI training on copyrighted music without any consent, right? So for those of you that are really, no, it's fair use for you to say that you require consent or that they should be paying you for that. No, I don't agree with that. You don't have the right to do that. Copyright law is very clear. This is all fair use. AI can do whatever they want to do with your music in terms of training off of it, as long as they're not immediately copying it and ripping it off and all that kind of stuff. So I just asked a question for those of you that do disagree. If I don't want AI training off of my music without my consent, as a copyright holder, I feel I do have that right to do that. Which am I guilty of? Okay. So the first option is I'm just wrong about the fair use laws, right? So I'm misunderstanding the current copyright laws. I just don't get it. And I'm a fool. I just basically don't understand what my rights are and what my rights aren't as a copyright holder. So I'm just misunderstanding the law, and I'm pretending like I have a right that I actually don't under the law. So it's not about an ethical or a moral issue. It's just, you're just wrong. You think you have a point, but you really don't. Sorry. Second, this is where it gets interesting. I wanted to know, do you think that I'm acting unethically, right? Maybe immorally by saying, hey, AI, Suno, Udio, maybe, I don't know if they're training off my music, but if I feel like I want to say, hold on. Don't start training off of my music with a for-profit business model. This is my point of view. If you're training off my music for an educational product or something that's nonprofit or a research thing, I honestly personally don't really care about that. That's okay. I'm not trying to stop any AI model from just learning off of my music. That's not a big deal to me. I don't think so. I think what starts to feel a little bit like they're taking my homework and copying off my homework is when the for-profit model gets built on the back end of it. That's where my kind of brain starts to split these things into different categories, which I know some of you won't agree with me. I'm just letting you know that's where my perception is, especially somebody who has copyrighted music that has commercial value, okay? This is not meant to try to be an elitist here, but my music has been in the production music library world with publishers in the TV film world for 16 years, and my tracks have created commercial value for myself, for the clients, for the libraries, for the publishers I've worked with. There's actually been quite a bit of money generated from the music that I've put into the world. Okay, so there's actually a significant, for me, of course, it's my income, I care about it. It's a significant amount of commercial value. So if I've got something valuable in the space of my marketplace, and somebody wants to come and use, even if I'm a small percentage of what they're using, to go create some other commercial value, I feel like I got a say in that. I feel like I can be able to say yes or no on that. And if you're going to be using, a piece of my creative effort and my commercial value that's really high quality, you got to pay me for that. That's my point of view. Okay. But then the next option was both. I'm both wrong about fair use and I'm acting immorally. And most of you put that, that I'm actually, oh, you can't see it there. It's 38%. Anyways, you can see it at the bar. Most people thought that I was actually both wrong about the law and acting unethically and immorally. So this got me thinking about what is the argument for me being unethical for saying to, a generative AI music company training off of my music. And so far, I've got a couple of you guys to give me a couple of thoughts on it. I actually had a conversation with ChatGPT about it because I was like, maybe it'll help me think about this a little bit more deeply. So far, this is what I've come up with, and I'm just curious about that side of the debate. So far, I've heard is that copyright holders, by basically putting up a roadblock and saying, hold on, you can't just train off of our music for a full profit model, or maybe some people saying don't train off of it at all. I know some labels are saying that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think I'm just more about creating something disruptive for the industry and the marketplace without asking for consent is something that I would like to have a discussion about for sure. The argument so far I've heard is you're stopping technological innovation, right? You are standing in the way of generative AI technology, which could massively benefit all of humanity, completely democratize music creation, open up the floodgates for other people to be creative. And you, Jesse, being so selfish and so short-sighted, are only worried about your little copyrights or whatever, that you're stopping technological progress. Like you're stopping a Suno or an Udio or whatever company comes next from creating something that could absolutely benefit all of humanity. Do I have that right? Like, is that the actual argument? Like, I'd like to know, for those of you that agree with that, or agree with that side. Gift shop, I think you were the one saying, weren't you the one saying that you thought, maybe I'm mistaken. Sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Those are two things though. Can you opt out and and should you be paid? Okay. So I'm actually talking about opt out. Yeah, I'm talking first of all about consent, because if you got consent, then you can, all the rest is details, right? I'm just talking about, yes, correct, the opt-out thing of like, if somebody's coming up to my copyrighted music and saying, hey, I want to just train off of it, I do feel that I should say like either, what's it for? What's your purpose? What are you doing? I want to opt out of it. Again, for me, if it's a nonprofit, whatever, and they're not going to be releasing a for-profit model, I probably like 99% of the time would just say yes, like, of course. Now, do I need consent for a nonprofit educational model? I even lean towards maybe no on that as well. I don't know if I'd really necessarily need to. However, other copyright holders that want to have an opt-out or want to have consent on that, I might want to side with them to say like, well, it's your music, and if you don't want, again, the difference here is that they always point out with the potential contradiction. You're like, well, you don't want like all the music that you learned off. You don't want other people to, it seems like it's hypocritical that you learned off of all these other people's music, but you don't want somebody else to learn off of your music. Well, that's the whole key. It's someone else, right? No, I don't care if like somebody uses my music to get inspired. In fact, I had one member, one of the videos I put out like last year when I was showing you guys one of these massive placements I got out of Germany. It like paid me whatever it was, $2,000, $3,000. It was crazy, $2,500 I think. It was just kind of like standard whatever swag rock track. I had a subscriber email me creating a track almost identical to mine. I mean, changed the notes, changed whatever. And he said, hey, is it cool if I try to pitch this to a library? I was really trying to follow along with your thing. And I said, well, honestly, I'm flattered. That's cool. But I'll just say, like, I felt like what he did stepped a little too close to mine. So I said, and honestly, like, you're not going to want to get into this business sounding like other people, like exactly like other people. You're going to want to create your own niche, especially now with this new era. So I wasn't mad that he got inspired and, created something like mine. I just had thought more for his concern. I was like, you just don't want to just copy directly that close. You're getting way too close to what I was doing. You might get in some trouble doing that, but definitely follow in the style of something I've done. Do you feel like it'd be helpful, especially if it feels like something that you can really create? But I think we are really also talking about people and AI machines. Like, I think these are two different things that we're having a conversation about. Yes, I trained off of the Beatles. I trained off of Blink-182. I trained off of Linkin Park. I trained off of other human beings creating music, as all of they did. And they all did that as well. This is a new machine here, which is not training how we train. I mean, it's similar, for sure. There are similarities, but It can consume music at an ungodly speed that we can't. It can spit out music at an ungodly speed that we can't. I think it makes sense to think about this in a different way. I don't mind you guys listening to my music, my original music maybe that I share here, and getting inspired and making something like on your own that's kind of like, hey, Jesse, you inspired me to make something, and it sort of got inspired by you, but I went into my own little direction. Like, that's awesome. That's what all of this is for. That's what the fair use is about with copyright, and all that good stuff. So I think that's amazing, and I don't even think that involves copyright. That's just being inspired and being a human being. But I do think we're in kind of like different territory. So anyways, going back to the ethical concerns, ethics, non-ethics, right? And those of you that are, let's just have fun with this. Okay, so I'm guessing most of you guys don't agree with that it's not unethical for copyright holders to want to get consent, right? I think I'd probably assume most of you guys agree with that. Let's steel man the other side. This is how we get stronger and smarter in our brains and in our worlds, right? We have to not straw man it and try to just find some exaggerated form of the argument and poke holes in that exaggerated form and then go, hey, we won. We really got to make their case as even better than they can make their case. So far, what I'm hearing is that us doing this is making it too difficult and too costly for AI companies to train off of data, right? Copyrighted works. Let's just really talk about music, okay? I know there's all these different domains with art and text and articles. Let's just focus on music, okay? So if we do this, if you kind of put up a fight about this, we're making it too difficult, too expensive. We will stop the technology altogether, or we will at least slow it down to the point where it's not really going to benefit humanity anymore. I'm guessing, that's why I really want to get an actual point of view here. Because if I am doing something unethical with my point of view on this, boy, do I want to be made aware of that. Like, I don't want to do something unethical. And it's possible. I always have to open up my brain to like, hey, there's a window of you being wrong about this. Go down that path. If it makes you uncomfortable to think about it, or it's just like completely confusing, grab it with both arms and wrestle with it, because you never know. Like, I never know. Maybe I'm completely wrong about all of this, and I can't lose by just having a conversation and talking to you guys about it. So let me see. Let me see some of your guys' comments if you guys are going to help me out with this one, hopefully. Non-musicians love AI music. Yeah, I'm noticing that too, and that's cool. One thing, again, I'm mixed on this. Like, I'm glad that people that are not previously exposed to music creation software like we are now getting tools to kind of get a little creative. I know that's a very loose and impoverished interpretation of the word, but you never know. There might be some kid who's like playing around with Suno or Udio right now, and they're like, you know what? I thought I could make music, and now that I've prompted a couple of things, like maybe I should go learn how to make my own music. And I bet we will see kind of a big explosion of people that previously didn't have access to these tools getting a little taste of it, getting excited by it, and going like, man, I want to learn how to use Logic or Pro Tools or whatever. You might actually see people actually getting more into creating their own music as a result of generated music through AI, right? So I think that could be a really amazing thing. It could kind of go both ways. It's not going to just go one way or the other. Johnny Lightning, the reality is they already have all the music. Yeah, probably they've trained on it, and now they have all their lawyers deal with the aftermath. Yeah, and again, I'm not mad necessarily at AI companies for doing what they're doing. It's kind of one of these things where like, that's the tech job, that's the tech company's world. The tech, like an AI company like Suno or Udio, their job is to push the limits to see how far they can get away with stuff. That's their job, guys. Like, they're doing their job, okay? What's our job then? Is our job just to go, well, okay, I guess you just take our copyrighted music, make your for-profit models, and yeah, we're fine. I don't think that's our job. I'm just telling you, as somebody who has commercially valuable copyrighted music in the world, I don't feel it's my job to just go, yeah, that's cool. I feel like I'm not doing my job. My job is to go like, whoa, okay, so this is what you guys are doing. Okay, interesting. Or maybe this is what you guys are doing. I don't know. That's what my Udio video was trying to drum up some interesting topics of conversation and some questions about what are you training with, right? Not necessarily if they're committing copyright infringement. I don't think we know that yet with the the fair use laws with data training. That's what we're still waiting for. But our job, I think, is especially if we value the commercial, the data that we have, which is our copyrighted music, and we know that generative AI companies need that data to become have a model that's worth anything, right? What is ChatGPT without anything in it? What is Suno or Udio without any music in it? I guarantee you could prompt one of those things without any data in it, you will get nothing. I mean, maybe you'll get like sine waves or something like that, but it is sort of garbage in, garbage out. You put high quality data into these models, you get higher quality data out. There are all these other variables as well, how they tune it, all that kind of stuff, and train it. But we all know that it's like a stew. You put some garbage ingredients in a stew, it doesn't matter that you put some other spices in it. It can only get up to a certain quality level. You start with the most premium, organic, amazing, hand-picked right out of your garden ingredients, you're going to get something that tastes a little bit better and looks a little bit better to the eye, right? So anyways, let's go back into your chat here. Yele, what's up, man? Yele's coming out for Sync Up in 2 weeks. I'm excited to see Yele again. I've met up with him one time, but this will be cool. We'll get to spend a lot more time over the weekend. So that'll be really fun. He's saying being inspired is okay. The problem is the amount of AI cranks out and the accessibility. Plus, if it's audio and the AI is trained on, you also have breach of mechanical rights. Yeah, potentially. That's what we're definitely all talking about. So, sorry. Text from a friend. Thought something I need to see. Maybe I'll take a listen to it or look at it afterwards. Kevin is saying Spotify is already generating AI music that is generating income for Spotify. They will slowly squeeze out musicians. Yeah, I saw that, and I know a lot of you had sent me the Rick Beato interview. I forgot the gentleman's name who he interviewed, but a guy that was kind of in this sort of like, I think this is what Spotify is going to do. They're going to just start generating AI music themselves, putting it into your playlist, and then not paying out royalties because it helps their bottom line. That's their job, guys. Like, why are we getting mad at a company for trying to save money? That is their job. What I don't think is going to, and I think for some people, it'll work. I think for some people, they're going to be fine with it. They're going to be like, I don't know who's making the music, but that was a cool track. I'll put it on my playlist. And they won't ever look up the artist or wonder if it's a real artist or anything like that. But there's also going to be a large number of people that listen to Spotify, you and I and many others, that will eventually feel a bit cheated by that or feel like, hey, I'm not getting access to the same kind of experience I had before with the human artist. Because one thing that we need to remember, even though we are going to start to get our own custom-made music and custom-made lyrics and whatever on AI, one of the biggest reasons why we love music is the communal enjoyment of it, right? If you have a buddy and you guys are both fans of a band and they come out with a new song, we're texting our friends about it, right? We're like, dude, you guys check it out. They came out with a new album or a new single or new this. And it's either like, this is amazing, or like, boy, they really screwed that one up. That one's terrible. I can't believe they released that, right? And, you know, you're going down the road. You hear somebody cranking out a tune that's one of your favorite tracks. That creates an immediate connection with other human beings. Going to a concert, you're surrounded by nothing but fans of this artist. And you guys know all the words and you know all the lyrics. And that's what makes the music really such a communal social art form. So in the future, if everybody's got their own headphones on, listening to their own music, AI generated, it's no, you know, there's no sort of like communal aspect to it. I do think we're going to feel, for some, not for all, but some people are going to feel cheated by that. And I know Spotify is aware of that. So they're going to push it. They're going to test it. So rather than get mad at them for trying these kind of things and pushing it out there, we need to, you know, our best response to all of this, honestly, from the very beginning of all of this has been, we need to make our music, right? You need to make your music that's so authentic and real and for you and coming out of you that it's undeniable on the other end, that people are going to want to connect with you. They're going to want to be a part of your music journey, a part of your life. And that's our only way out of this. Like, that's the only way that we're going to remain relevant at all. I agree. I know that I have been sort of complaining lately about all this kind of stuff, but, you know, above all of these little details, even this one, the ethical concerns, you know, above all this, the 10,000 foot view is like, we just got to be really, really focused on what we can control, which is our music, and getting more creative, more bold, more authentic, more vulnerable, more interesting in what we're doing, and pushing ourselves into going in some cool directions that we maybe previously never thought we could go, trying new chords out, new chord progressions out, new leads, new instruments. Yele is a great example of this. Yele, I know you had this really cool post that you've invested in all these weird, interesting, unique stringed instruments, like real live instruments that you've been including in your production music. Excellent, excellent idea. Definitely something that I was encouraging you guys, and I still encourage you now, but definitely what I was encouraging guys who were a part of Sync Academy back in August of last year, which is it's live instruments, it's vocals, it's making your music more interesting, more unique, more live, more human. So any way that can possibly be done, that's what we should all be doing right now. So Yele obviously has been taking that advice. He's been actually doing something. He's focusing on what he can control, which is going to put him in an even stronger position, no matter what the future of this holds for us. So now we're way off the topic of ethical considerations. I want to get back to that. Can you guys please in the chat help me out? Steelman it. Let's go for their point of view. You're going to stop technological innovation. You're going to make it too expensive. One thing I saw was somebody said, we don't have trillions of dollars to clear the music that, to pay off all the big libraries and publishers and labels. We would need trillions of dollars to be able to do that. AI companies don't have that. Okay. Meta and Google both went to stock licensing sites like Pond5, Shutterstock. I think Audio Jungle was another one. Maybe Audio Jungle and Shutterstock are together. I don't know. And they paid them. They didn't pay them trillions of dollars. I don't know what it was. They didn't disclose it publicly. I have no idea. Was it millions? I don't think it was billions. Probably in the millions or hundreds of thousands. I don't know what it was. But they went to a catalog and they just talked to them and they paid and they signed an agreement. And the royalty-free site said, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you can train off of it. I know some publishers obviously didn't like that, especially if they weren't given an opt-out period. The first one, Pond5, didn't do that. Moving forward, a lot of the other sites did start to give their composers a sort of 3-week, 1-month period of like, hey, this is about to come in. You're going to get some revenue from it, but it does mean that either, I don't know if it was Meta or Google, one of the two, they're going to start training off it. And there are models like Stability 2.0 that did go and pay for, was it Audio Spark's 800,000 tracks? Okay. Didn't pay trillions of dollars to have to train off of that. So there are plenty of examples of AI companies who are going and paying, asking for consent, and training AI generative models. They're doing it, right? Suno and Udio obviously are getting a lot of the attention because they leapfrogged the quality. Go listen to what Stable Audio 2.0 can do. It's not bad. I'm not trying to dog on them. They've got a really impressive thing. But it's not what you're getting out of Suno and Udio. You're not getting the lyrics. You're not getting the vocals. You're not getting songs that sound so commercially close to some of our favorite artists that we know and love that it starts to become commercially viable. So in a sense, it feels like they are leapfrogging past the competition using copyrighted music without that consent, right? So I'm not getting your guys' comments yet. Don't let me down. Come on. Let's pretend. Just pretend. You don't have to agree with it. It doesn't hurt you to pretend, right? Pretend that you are saying, Jesse, you are not unethical. You are stopping the progress of technology here. And generative AI music is going to be so beneficial to humanity that the short-term little you feeling uncomfortable about this, or even if you're losing a little bit of your market share because of this, is not worth it's sort of the ends justify the means. It's going to justify, we're going to have such an amazing product at the end of it that you are just going to be hurting people by doing it. That's the argument. Okay. So I want to dive into that. Can we try to steel man them if nobody here can actually give it to me? J.I.'s got a really good point. You can't learn how to make Beatles music just by listening to it. To analyze a track, you need a lot of hard-earned experience over many years of playing, producing, recording, and mixing. That's great, J.I. You really crystallized something for me that I hadn't put clear in my head. That, yeah, it's not like when I was in the 5th grade and I watched my first Beatles documentary, I was so inspired and I was like, man, I want to be the Beatles. I want to be Ringo Starr. I want to write songs, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it wasn't like the next day I was like cranking out hit Beatles songs. The next day I was like, all right, what do I got to do? Learn piano? I got to go learn guitar. That took years. And I get it. Like AI is obviously not a human in that sort of same, it doesn't have to go learn all these different elements. It's a completely different structure. And that's a really, really good point, Jay. I do appreciate that. It might not be relevant for the legal arguments of this, but it certainly plays into how it feels to have somebody come in. And I keep going back to the analogy of being in grade school, right? You're sitting there. I wanted to make actually a skit about this on my YouTube channel. It's going to take a lot of work. I don't know if I got the energy to do that. Not right now with Sync Up coming up. But the idea that you're sitting there in class and you've got this thesis and this guy comes up to you, he's like, yo, let me just see that real quick. I got this machine. All it's got to do is look at your thesis and it can scramble it. It'll reword it. It'll make it look completely different. You'll still get your grade. Mine will look like I wrote it and nobody's going to be harmed by that. So let me just take a look at it. And I go, whoa. Like that took a lot of work for me. Like I had to research and read books and talk to, experts and whatever. This is like, a year or two plus of my life here. It just doesn't feel good that, you got a magical machine. I get that it took you a lot of work to make that machine, but just to train off of my thing, like I'd rather you get consent. And then this person says, but bro, it was on your table. It was out in the public. I already took it. Like, I don't even need your consent. Like if you put it on the table, I took that as implied permission that I could learn off of it. Like, that's what it feels like right now. That's exactly what it feels like. That some of us have been doing our homework and putting in the time and the effort. And some of us built a really fancy machine. I'm not trying to diminish that fancy machine takes a lot of time and effort and money to train and all that kind of stuff. But and in the skit, like the guy's going to ask the guy who has the machine, like, but how good is that machine without like a thesis to train off, like a paper, like a research paper? Like, what could it do without my paper? And the other guy says, oh, nothing. It's basically a paperweight without your paper. Like, well, I need your paper. Like, your paper basically gives the value to this kind of thing, or at least it's at least 50% of what I'm doing here. And that's my point of view, is like, if we've got 50% of the value proposition in this arrangement, why aren't we demanding that we be included and get consent and get paid and compensated for it? You know, life was actually doing okay, I think, before generative AI. I don't know if we were like necessarily suffering because Suno and Udio didn't exist. Were we? I don't feel like I was. Again, this could be the other side of the argument that I need to get better at or really understand it. But they certainly need us, right? Like Suno and Udio definitely need copyright. It seems like, right, that they're going to need some copyright creators to make a product that's worth anything. So we've got a lot of power here, guys. We've got pretty much, I think, most of the power on our side of the things. And the only way that we will be respected and get what we want is if we say, you better respect us. You better give us what we want. You better at least come and ask for consent. And even if we don't want the money, like I feel like we still can have this conversation of like, we should be able the ones to say like, you need us far more than we need you. So we set the terms, right? That's like a position of power. That's at least how I see things. And that could be my bias. I could be delusional. I could be dreaming, all this kind of stuff. I get it. But that's kind of where I'm coming from, at least at this moment, at this day. Talk to me in a week and a month, and I might have a completely different point of view. Yeah, Chad's saying it feels like it makes sense for AI to only train off of new music from artists who have opted in with an agreed set of terms. That would be great. That's consensual. There's going to be all different types of models. As long as it's consensual, I'm not mad. Meta and Google training off of Pond 5 and Audio Sparks and not Audio Sparks, but like Shutterstock, Audio Jungle. I wasn't excited and happy about that deal. Obviously, I feel like some of these stock sites are probably just helping to ensure their own demise and their own replacement by doing those kind of deals. But they get to control that. If their legal agreements say, hey, if you're submitting music to us, we get to decide what to do with your music the best of our ability. If it's consensual, it's above board. You guys sending your music to Pond 5, Shutterstock, Audio Jungle, you're aware of that risk. You knew that going into it, or at least your contract that you signed with them allows them to do stuff like that. I got nothing to say, guys. It's consensual. It's two parties that are just agreeing to do business in a way that makes sense for both of them. That's cool with me. I'm cool with consensual relationships. That's what I'm really trying to say here. I like consent. I think we all are fans of consent, okay? Yellow's saying, I don't think it's unethical to demand rules and boundaries for technological progress, just as with the atom bomb. The tech was there, but countries made it rules so it didn't spiral out of control. Yeah. J.I. saying, I think people calling you unethical are simply projecting. I can't steel man it. We are not preventing a cancer cure from being invented by us. This is how humans express and share. I don't know. Projecting or not, I don't know. I'm really just trying to get out of my own bias with all of this stuff to try to just get smarter about it all. Because if I find a little hole in my argument or a big hole in my argument or my point of view, like especially if we're getting now into this higher level of ethics, right? Of like, because before up until now, I was thinking like this is just a matter of like opinion. Because I don't think it's clear if fair use is going to allow this or not, the copyright laws as they are. So since we're in the Wild West and territory is being claimed, that's what you guys can go the analogy back to the Wild West, right? Where there weren't any clear set rules. It was kind of like, hey, if you just show up and put a fence around a piece of property and nobody else has claimed it, that's yours now because it's the Wild West, right? Sort of property rights were being invented and people were claiming new things, and it's just sort of a free-for-all. People are just kind of grabbing and trying new things and inventing new business models. And hey, we'll charge you for the copyright of this AI music you just generated. Like, everybody's just grabbing out there. And so if we want to be included and have some power in this new paradigm, we got to play that game too, guys. Like, it might be an uncomfortable thing to think about, but if it's the Wild West and all the AI companies are claiming territory and we're the only ones going like, well, I don't think it's right and unethical for us to claim territory because I think the copyright laws would, all right, well then we are guaranteed getting rolled over. Guaranteed they will roll over us and not pay us and not pay us, not get consent, not worry about us at all. That's not their job. Their job is not to worry about us, guys. Our job is to worry about us. Again, taking responsibility for ourselves. That's how I see it. And if it's the Wild West, let's play the Wild West rules, which means we got to claim some territory here, right? We got to claim some rights. We've got to make the strongest argument we possibly can, put up our demands anywhere we possibly can. And I think that's my tiny little contribution to this conversation, like that video with Udio, live streams like this, what we're doing. Definitely what we're going to be talking about at Sync Up. For those of you that are going to be joining, by the way, I have to give a quick pitch for that. Sorry guys, you guys have to get a little commercial break right now. Sync Up, it is coming up in 2 weeks. Okay, this is our second in-person event. It's going to be June 1st and 2nd at a hotel very close to the LAX airport. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is talking to many library CEOs. I'm going to show you who they are right now. These are the gentlemen that are all going to be there at the event. At least I'll put the top 7 there. So Mike, you guys have seen him here on the channel many times. Perry, this is the gentleman who I got my Major League Baseball theme placement. The biggest placement of my entire career is going to be there with us in person, and we're going to do a breakdown of that gig at the event. That's going to be one you don't want to miss out on. Trevor has been here many times on this channel with Get It Done Music. He's been following AI even closer than I have, and he's going to have some great insights for us, including a presentation on how you guys can build your own production music library if you want to build your own. And these days, with a lot of the tools that are accessible to us, including AI tools, it's even easier and more accessible than you possibly can. This is actually a presentation that Trevor will be sort of shooting himself in the foot by telling you guys how to replace him, but he's agreed to. I asked him to do it, and he said he'll do it. So you guys are going to definitely get a world-class education here. AJ from Future Hits, he's been a part of this channel for many years. He also was at Sync Up last year, but he was only there virtually. He'll be there in person. He's going to give us a full in-depth analysis for how do you create a sync hit song with vocals, lyrics, melodies. He's going to play us examples from his catalog for what really works and what really can stand out with sync licensing clients like TV and film productions. Okay, Timo from Sound Adventures, he was a part of our Sync Connect series. He's going to be there as well. Some great stuff that he has done. Duddy, he is the essentially head honcho executive producer at Audio Socket. So he's gotten tons of placements. He's a world-class producer, composer. So he's going to share some of his secrets for how he's really done well with Audio Socket. And then we'll have Eric Gammons of Sonic Librarian, also done some amazing stuff. He's gotten Fortnite placements among others, and The Office. You know, that was always my big gem I always wanted when I started. I was like, I want a placement with the show The Office, and he actually got it. But Eric is a great guy. I've been a part of our Sync Connect series as well. So all these gentlemen will be there in person at Sync Up coming up June 1st and 2nd. And if you buy an in-person ticket or an upgraded virtual ticket, you can submit a track of yours, an album of yours, 5 songs, whatever you want, to any one of them with a guarantee that they will listen. So I've contracted every one of these guys, and I've said, listen, I'm paying you to be a part of this event. We want your time. We appreciate you. We want to value your time. But also, after the event, after you've heard from them, you can ask them questions, pick their brain on what they're looking for, what they're not looking for. You can pitch to them as a result of your in-person or your advanced virtual ticket and get a guarantee that they will sit down, they will click play, they will listen to your tracks, okay? Whether or not they accept it, that's up to them. They obviously get to just decide that. But some of you have been wanting to partner with a new library, maybe your first library. And of course, it's scary. Who do I trust? Who should I actually, trust with my music? It's a gamble many times. This puts most of the odds in your favor as much as you possibly can, because you're going to see them, you're going to get to know them, you're going to ask them questions. Okay, so this is basically your best bet for getting to know the people, the human beings behind the companies that you potentially want to partner with and send your music off. And if they like your music, your email, your phone number is going right along with your submission. I'm not a middleman. I'm not going to be in the middle taking a percentage of anything. I don't want to know about anything other than if it's doing well for you. Come back and let me know. And if you get accepted, please let me know as well. But I am not shopping anybody's music as a result of this. You are pitching your music directly to them. They are contracted through this event to listen to your music, okay? So there's a link in the description box if you guys want to come down here, click on any one of these hyperlinks and you can learn more about their companies and what they've really done. We're going to have some successful TV producers as well that have been doing well, including Yele, who's hopefully still watching right now. Yele, if you're still here. So Yele is going to give us some tips for how he's working with BMG, some of the biggest in the game. And he came from literally nowhere. Like he came from his home studio in the Netherlands, didn't have a single relationship in this business, and now is basically a star composer with many of the biggest publishers in our industry. So he's going to give us us all of the benefits of that wisdom that he's had. So, and we've got success stories from the people that came last year that streamed it live. These three were members that were there in person. They got deals as a result of SyncUp. We had one member who was streaming it virtually, I believe overseas, maybe from Germany, and she got a deal as well, just with her virtual ticket. So you can actually get access to these library owners and get deals both ways. So anyways, June 1st and 2nd. I won't go through the entire schedule, but you guys can check out if you want to click on that link in the description box. We're going to give each CEO their own panel. We're going to talk to them in depth about what they think about it, what they think about AI, definitely, what kind of tools that they're okay with some composers using, what tools they're not okay with, what are they doing to safeguard their catalogs, what are they thinking about the future of this business. If you are unsure about the future of this industry, who better to go pick their brain than people who are actually running the publishing companies that we depend on to get our placements and start earning income for us. So we're going to pick their brains on all this really important stuff. And this is kind of a new thing we're going to do is we're going to do some SyncUp awards at the very end for those of you that get an in-person ticket. And also the other cool new thing we're going to do is we're going to do some in-person track reviews if you want to have that benefit. So right now we have Mike, Trevor, and AJ are going to be the three CEOs that you can actually get your tracks reviewed in person in a private listening room with them. If they like what they hear, they can offer you a deal right there on the spot. If it's not ready, they'll let you know what they think you can do to improve your game. That's only going to be available to people that get an in-person ticket, and you will need to upgrade your ticket if you want to get that extra benefit. But that's something we've never offered either. It's getting like literally person-to-person, in-person feedback from some of the decision makers in this industry. So back to this. Here's where the ticket options are at this moment. Okay, let me move myself out of the way. You can stream it virtually. It's $99. If you want to submit your music to any of the CEOs with a guaranteed listen, that's just the $99 upgrade on top of the $99. So basically $200, and you can get access to all that. You don't have to watch it live. We will be recording everything. You can watch it afterwards. We will have Zoom breakout rooms during our networking opportunities, so you can network and Zoom and talk to people you'd like to who are also streaming it as well. If you do want to step it up, come in person. I can highly guarantee you your experience will be tenfold if you do join us in person. I got the reviews and the feedback from our opportunity or for our event last year. People who showed up in person gave the event 12 out of 10 reviews essentially. People who streamed it virtually liked it, got a lot of value out of it. They're glad that they paid for it. But it's only when you come in person that you get that extra sense of just magic and also in-person networking that you cannot replicate from a Zoom session, from streaming something, okay? So it is $4.99 for an in-person ticket. However, I am going to give you guys a break. If you can wrangle a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, a musician friend, a composer buddy, even just a friend who's not musical who just wants to come with you to the event, you can get 2 tickets actually for $5.99, which basically brings your each ticket down to $300. That's the original discounted early bird rate that we had when we first offered this event. So we still have about 17 tickets left. I would like all of these to be sold before the event. I don't want to see any empty seats. That would be kind of a bummer, and I don't want to see that happen. So you've got 2 weeks basically to decide. If you can drive to LA, great. If you can fly to LA, awesome. If you get an in-person ticket, we will reveal the hotel name with your in-person ticket. It is at a hotel extremely close to the LAX airport in Los Angeles. You can literally walk there if you want to, getting off the plane. So just so you know. And then of course we got a swag bag, we got t-shirts. I might bring that into the office here in the next couple of days to show you guys what you get as a part of it. You get guaranteed, included in your in-person ticket, the option to submit your music to a CEO if you want to. If you want to upgrade your experience even more, there's a $99 upgrade to be able to get that in-person feedback with one of those 3 CEOs. We do have a premium experience as well, a couple of tickets there, but that takes you to this next level of coming to a private dinner with the CEOs and myself. So you're basically getting even more front row access, and of course you'll get front row seats to the event. So as we do our networking breaks and in between panels, you're going to be as close as you possibly can be to all the CEOs. So you'll get sort of first dibs at doing some of your networking. So anyways, that's my pitch for SyncUp. Thank you guys for listening to that. Let me get back to our chat, see how you guys are doing. Are you guys even still here? Yes, you are. Cool, right on. And let me catch up on some of our questions and chats and comments. Yeah, and Kevin's saying we just have to embrace it. AI has learned from us. Let's learn from AI. Yeah, absolutely. I am fully using AI in any possible way that I feel is really helpful for me. but not robbing me of my creative process that I think is really important that I want to safeguard. So yeah, this is I agree with you. We definitely want to embrace it, but that doesn't mean that we can't be skeptical. That we can't also want to try to steer this in a direction. Like you guys saw the whole did you guys see what happened with Scarlett Johansson and OpenAI? Like literally yesterday, OpenAI releases their ChatGPT 4.0, and one of the voices you can talk to it sounded like Scarlett Johansson. Whether it's too close, not close enough, I don't know. We won't get into that. But Scarlett Johansson at least thought like, hey, you had asked me if you could use my voice. I said no. Then you released this model that sounded suspiciously a lot like me. Also, right before you released it, you came back to me and said, are you sure we can't use your likeness? Because we really would think that would be helpful for us. And then you released this model that kind of stepped on our toes. And most people's reaction to this is naturally like, whoa, what are you doing there, OpenAI? Why are you making this voice sound like very close to Scarlett Johansson? And so immediately we're starting to realize that like, okay, you can be pro ChatGPT, you can be pro AI technology and having this kind of cool private tutor and mentor and thing that you want to have in your, and I am because I use it. But at the same time go like, but don't do what you're doing there. Like that's I don't know, you're stepping on some weird places here where you're kind of using the likeness of people, or even if you're not directly using it. Is some of her voice included in that training data? That was something that I saw that Ed Newton Rex, Fairly Trained, had tweeted, and I thought that's a really good point. Like, what if they used a different model, a different voice actress, but it's still blended in with some of Scarlett Johansson's voice? Scarlett Johansson's voice is in the public domain. You could train off of it. It's out there. We're now stepping into different territory with likeness and publicity concerns. But yeah, I think we kind of all can see that like you can be pro technology, but also be like, let's do it mindfully, let's do it consensually, let's do it transparently to the best that we can, right? Yeah, they're saying, what about prompting some things in Udio and just make some changes and record it live and beat them at their own game? You could possibly do that. For me, I'm not interested in that because it's like I want to express myself. I don't want to express Udio's image or whatever, the AI model was doing. So for me, it doesn't really seem like that interesting to do that. But yeah, I mean, there's probably some ways that you can use this technology to 10x your production music if you want to. I don't know. If you're really just trying to prompt your way into a career, maybe there's something else you could do, right? Yelly, you're definitely not the one I know that's going to do that. You love creating your own music, but just as kind of just a an open question or an open suggestion for anybody who's thinking like, well, I'll just create 1,000 tracks by doing this. I'm like, okay, yeah, you probably could. There's probably a way you could do that. I don't know if it's really something you're going to feel a lot of fulfillment doing that, right? Okay, so the Mix Club. So as a mastering engineer, should I be pissed that Isotope trained on loads of hit songs for target points? Interesting. So that's how Isotope trained its AI model, was off hit songs. Mix Club. I wasn't aware of that. So I'd have to learn about that. I don't know how Isotope did that. So did they put their mastering thing on hit songs to train it for how it's doing that? That's an interesting case because Isotope then doesn't generate anything, right? And I mean they have settings, right? They have compressor and widener and all that kind of stuff, but they're not generating any music. That's a really interesting point. I got to think about that for sure. In Vivaldi, you're pro AI as they prove our compositions, but you're against AI generated music because it steals the job of musicians. I'm not sure I can even follow that it's stealing our jobs. It could. I mean, that's why I've always, like, my one specific use case that I keep going back to and just talking about over and over again is hypothetical model trains off of universal production music, takes all that information, trains its own production music model, or generates its own huge catalog of 1 million tracks plus, and then goes and tries to serve one of Universal's clients instead of Universal and undercuts them. That's a very specific use case where, yes, that one for sure, you'd undercut your direct competitor. It's very clear. I think that's an obvious case. But Suno and Udio, if they paid to train off their models with copyrighted music, is some kid pumping out music that sounds different and interesting, taken away from other people's job? I don't know. You can maybe make the case that if you're gonna, muck up the entire Spotify catalog with AI music, you could basically be thinning out the pie for a lot of the copyrighted artists. Maybe that's an argument, but I don't know if I'm sold, because live musicians probably aren't going to be too too affected by this, right? We're still going to want to see live musicians with talent and skill, and emotion and energy that they're putting into the room. We're still going to want to see that. So it's disruptive for sure. I just don't buy the horde. And I'm not just so you guys know, like I am not mad at technology taking jobs away from us. And why? Why would I have that point of view? I'm a person sitting in front of you right now as a result of many people losing their jobs. Okay. This keyboard, you guys can't see it, but I have a keyboard here that's capable now, thanks to all of the VSTs and sound libraries I have, that put tons of string players out of business, put tons of guitar players, drummers, bassists, sound designers. I have used technology that has destroyed industries, like entire industries. And thank God that happened, because that gave me a career doing what I'm doing in TV film sync licensing, and it's giving you all an opportunity to do this in TV film sync licensing. So losing jobs because of technology, not mad at that. You know, training your technology off of copyrighted work, getting a for-profit model on that, I do believe that we are in a different category when we're talking about that, because you know, if let's say what's a popular VST, I don't know, East West or something like that, if they had trained their model off of Hans Zimmer's compositions and said, well, it's public domain, not public domain, it's publicly available, I can go access all of Hans Zimmer's music he's released commercially, publicly. We can train our model off of those strings, and we can kind of generate our own, and then we can create this for-profit model based on what Hans Zimmer's did. How do we feel about that, right? That feels like, yeah, you got a technology that can train off of music. But I think Hans Zimmer should have a say in that. You're making money, and you're making money because of Hans Zimmer's talent, right? Like it's at the least, it's just disrespectful. It's like, let's respect the guy that gave you a business. Like that guy, or whoever you train your music on, gave you your business model. So man, what a slap in the face he must feel, right? Stock music maybe is dead in 6 to 12 months. I don't see it happening that quickly. I think what you're going to see is a slow decline, and I think it's been happening. If you've been following the stock scene, you know, they moved from a per track download to now the subscription rates, which are definitely squeezing all the composers even more. Like you might get more consistent income on a monthly basis, but you are definitely seeing probably less income than you have. Some of the people on YouTube here, I know that Eric, Make Music Income, he's been talking about, like, you know, it's been changing. You know, it's not been necessarily changing for the better. And a lot of people have been noticing that their income, actually, I think Eric said his were fine, but I think a lot of people have been noticing that like their income has been kind of taking a bath with stock. And so, yeah, for sure. But I don't think it's going to be like a, you know, January 1st, all income from stock licensing is gone. It's going to be just a little tiny trickle down for years and years into the future. I think it's going to take a long, slow burn to do that. So. Yeah, boy, Yele, Yele is such a trooper. He's going to take an 11-hour flight to come hang out with us. Yele, the first beer, do you drink, Yele? Actually, I don't know if you do or not. If you don't, it's fine. Soda, whatever your first drink is when you arrive, it's on me, okay? So when you get there, come up to the second floor. I got to send you, actually, I think I sent you the details of where we're going to be at on the second floor of the hotel. But come up to the second floor. We'll probably be setting up. And yeah, I'll definitely take you out to dinner that first Friday night, man. That'd be really cool. Yeah, Scarlett Johansson was not cool with that, as I wouldn't be either if I started hearing my voice on OpenAI's chat bot and I didn't give consent for that. So, yeah, Vivaldi's talking about the hit that it feels to your stomach. Yeah, there's definitely a feeling here, right? And it's not logic. That's not, you know, a legal debate, but it's not nothing, right? How we feel about this is important. Absolutely. And I think you have to have some skin in the game to have, for me, I'm starting to realize, for people that are on the other side of this, I just need to make sure that you're also monetizing your music. One thing I appreciated was Paul of Paul Croteau, I think that's his last name, who I had that chat with on my channel. You know, he does sync licensing. He's got a lot of tracks out there. You know, he's monetizing his music to a certain degree, and he disagrees with me. And I'm like, that is a lot more credible to have a conversation with somebody like that than people I've seen sometimes in my comments where they have the other side of the view, and I'm curious, what are you doing on your YouTube channel? I click on it. It's nothing but Suno or Udio created albums on their YouTube channel. I'm like, that's cool. Sometimes I see that they don't credit Udio, and I'm kind of an ass to them. And I say, hey, you're not abiding by Udio's terms of service. You have to credit them. I know they don't credit their artists that they train off, but you actually, by their terms of service, you have to say that was powered by Udio. Because some of them, they said like, blah, 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 album created by me. You know, it had their name, Matthew, whatever. And I'm like, I don't think Udio's happy with that. I think you got to let them know. You got to let the world know that that was not created by you. That was generated by Udio, and they have that in their terms of service. So it just lends to more credibility if you've got skin in the game, if you've got copyright that's commercially valuable. And I know a lot of you guys are still in the early stages of getting your copyrights to be commercially valuable. You're getting into sync, and that's cool. You'll get to that point at some point. I really hope you guys all do. But some of us have been doing our homework, right? Some of us were crazy enough to keep doing this, even when all the odds are stacked against us. And now we actually do have commercially valuable work that took us years, decades sometimes to develop and create. That's the feeling of the little Udio kid in class showing up late and lazy, sleeping in, messy hair. Bro, I just got to take your music real quick. I just got to see how you did that real quick so that I can go create a for-profit business model off of that. Ooh, that doesn't feel good. Definitely doesn't feel good. So, okay, Mixed Club, you're saying it's called Mastering Rebalance. Yeah, so I guess the question would be, Mixed Club, if you know, did iZotope literally go to, like, you know, Spotify and just go, hey, listen to all that music, train off of it? Have they been transparent in that? Like, did they say, this is how we got it to be this good? We trained it off of copyrighted music and how those tracks all sound, and that's how we developed this? Or did they go get permission and consent from all of the sound recording owners of those tracks to say, hey, we'd like to train off of your music, we'll pay you, or we're, you know, maybe we don't want to pay you, but we're definitely just going to ask for consent for this particular purpose? That's what I'd be interested in, is was there an attempt to reach out to it? If they trained off of it, and if they did they go out and sort of try to say, hey, let's do this above board, not just do it without asking them, let's do it and ask them, you know, for their permission for that. Hey, Paul saying he got his first 3 international placements, 3 on television from Japan. Right on, man. Thanks for everything you're doing here. I'm on the right track. Right on. Very cool, Paul. Keep it up. It's always great news. It'll put a little bit of pep in your step for a couple of days or weeks, and then that'll wear off, and you got to get back on it again. But awesome, man. That's really, really cool. I'm stoked for you. Cool. Yeah, let me know, Mix, about that if you can find that out. Right on. All right, guys. Well, I'll go ahead and hop off here. Again, sync up 2 weeks away. There's a link in the description box. I highly, highly encourage you guys to come be there in person if you possibly can. I'd love to meet you guys. I know that our other members would love to meet you as well. And I know you guys want to meet the library CEOs that are going to be coming. So I think it's like there's no better thing you can do that weekend than to at least be there virtually if you can't be there in person. But definitely do anything you can. If you can drive, if you're within driving distance of the LAX airport in Los Angeles, just come. Go get your ticket, get them now, and bring a buddy. You'll definitely save a lot of money if you bring a buddy with you. And we're just going to have a really fun time, you know, hanging out, creating some community, getting smarter about this, talking about what our future is, definitely having some best practices, conversations about generative AI technology, and keeping you guys on the cutting edge of this industry. I think there's no reason why you guys wouldn't want to be there. I think there's no better use of your money or your time this coming June 1st and 2nd. So one last thing, somebody had a point. Sean was saying, it's my understanding that iZotope collected the sonic balance of hundreds of tracks to create a one-size-fits-all. Okay, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Did they go ask for permission and consent? That is the big question, I think. That's what we're really talking about here. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. Again, if you're watching this afterwards and you believe I'm acting unethically, help me. Put a comment below. I'd love to hear more. I'd love to learn more. I'd love to see how I'm potentially wrong all this. That would be on all of this. This would be really, really interesting for me to figure out how I should be correcting my unethical behavior. That would be really fascinating. All right, guys, talk to you soon.